Hey everyone, Praveen this side. I hope you guys are doing great. And if you're not, keep hustling. One day you will definitely reach the heights of greatness. So today we are going to solve the problem implement A to I. Basically, in C++, we have a function called S to I where if we pass a string of numbers, it will convert it to integer. But that is a built-in one, right? We need to implement it by ourselves. So this is the problem title and the difficulty is medium. Okay. Now let's see the problem description. Here, given a string s, the objective is to convert it into an integer format without utilizing any built-in functions. Refer the below steps to know about the A2I function. So, by checking the below steps, we'll be knowing better about A2I function. Okay. Now in the step 1, skip any leading white spaces. That is, suppose we have been given a string where we have some spaces and we have a number. Now we need to skip this white spaces, right? And the output should be like 98. Okay. And the step 2, check for a sign plus or negative, default to positive if no sign is present. So in the present, if we have been given in a string as minus 98, so based on the first character, if it is minus, then we need to return minus 98. But if nothing is given, then by default it will be assumed as positive, right? So we'll return 98 in case of just a 98 string, right? So this is the point. In the third point, skip the integer by ignoring leading zeros until a non-digit zero character is encountered or end of the string is reached. If no digits are present, return 0. Now this point says, suppose we have a string with continuous zeros and 98. Okay. So we need to ignore these zeros and find for the first non-negative and find for the first non-zero character. That's what he said, right? That end of the string is reached. That's what they said, right? That until a non-digit character is encountered or the end of the string is reached. If we have all zeros, right, then we need to simply return 0. Okay, that's what the point 3 is about. Now in the point 4, if the integer is greater than 2 to the power of 31 minus 1, then return 2 to the power of 31 minus 1. And if the integer is smaller than minus 2 to the power of 31, then return minus 2 to the power of 31. So basically, while forming the number, if it gets greater than 10 to the power of 9, that is the maximum range of int max, then we need to return to the power of 31 minus 1, which is nothing but 10 to the power of 9. And if the number is negative and the number is greater than 2 to the power of 31, right, then we need to return the negative of 2 to the power of 31. So this point is majorly about keeping the number within the integer range because we need to convert the string to integer, right? Now all the cases are clear. So let's take the example as reference because each example I found personally is contributing to each point. Okay. Here, if we analyze each example properly, then we'll get each observation point and the whole observation points together will simply solve our problem. Okay. So I really like how Geek for Geeks have provided so many examples. So in the example 1, the string is minus 123, right? And the output is 123. So here what are we doing basically? We are checking whether first index is minus or not. If it is minus, then we'll consider that number as negative. Else positive, right? So at the first index, if we have minus, then we need to multiply our whole result by minus. But at the first index, if we don't have minus, then we will not consider it as a negative number. And notice that I'm not saying about the 0th index. I'm saying about the first index, right? Because in future, maybe we need to modify our string, right? So the first occurrence or the first index that we find, we need to check for the symbol. Okay. So to keep the track whether the number is negative or not, we'll create a boolean variable is negative and check the first index character whether it is minus or not. If it is minus, then we'll mark it as true, else we'll mark it as false. Now how that variable will be useful? After finding the result, we'll check whether is negative variable is false. If false, then we'll not multiply minus, but if it's true, then we'll multiply minus. And one more point is, if that number is found to be negative, then we need to increment our I pointer, right? Because the I pointer will be initially here, right? But we need to find the number, right? With this, we have kept the track whether it is negative or not. But after that, we need to keep the track of numbers, right? So if we keep our I pointer here, then it will try to find the number from here. So to avoid that, we'll move our I pointer to one step ahead, right? So this is one more important point. Now in the example 2, the string is space and minus, right? Here I am representing space as underscores, okay? Now here we have extra spaces in the beginning, right? So our I pointer will be initially here. So we'll move this I pointer till we don't find a negative symbol or any actual number, right? Here we need to run a while loop till s of I is not equals to empty space. Okay, and also while I is less than n, because the string and whole be empty, right? So it will get out of bound. So while I is less than n and at the ith character we are not finding empty space. Till that we need to move our ith pointer ahead, right? So with this we'll skip this space and we'll finally reach here. That is I will be now here. And now when I is here and we have a minus symbol, we'll jump back to step number 1. That will check whether it is negative. If yes, we'll mark this variable as true. And after marking this variable, we'll increment our I pointer, right? So now I will be going here. But if you observe, I is now out of bound. So even though if it is negative, does it contribute anything? No, because after negative, we don't have any number. So simply here we'll be returning 0. Okay. That's what the explanation says. No digits are present, therefore the returned answer is 0. Okay. Now in the example 3, the string is a space and a number which is greater than integer. Here, first we have a space, right? So with example to observation, we'll skip all the spaces. Okay. Now after skipping the spaces, we check whether the first character is minus. No. So this number is considered as positive. So we'll try to take each digit at a time and try to form a number. Now, if you don't know how to convert a digit to a number, and especially when you have a stream of numbers, that is, if we are at s of I, we'll take that digit and we'll subtract it to character 0. Now, if s of I is a valid character, then the result that we get will be within 1 and 9. Okay. And if this number is between 1 and 9, what we can do? We might have a result variable initialized, right? So what we'll do is we'll do result equals to result into 10. Plus whatever the s of I we found. Let's name it as digit. Okay. So this will be digit. Okay. Now suppose if you have a stream of numbers 1, 2, 3. Okay. From the stream of numbers, we need to find our result as 1, 2, 3, right? How can we find it using this formula? So our result is initialized to 0, right? So we'll take result equals to result into 10. 0 into 10 will be 0. 0 plus digit is 1. So 1 will be the result. Okay, for now. So I'll clean this up. So result is 1. Okay. Our next stream number is 2. So what we'll do? Result equals to result into 10. Since result is 1, 1 into 10 will be 10. Okay. And in that 10, if we add our 2, then it will become 12, right? So our updated result is 12. Okay. After we complete this process, the next number is 3. So again, we'll take 12, multiply it with 10, then it becomes 120. 120 plus digit is 3. The sum becomes 123. Now we'll assign this number again to result. So the result updates to 123. So that's how if we get a stream of characters, we can convert it to number using this formula. This is one of the important thing that you learned, that when you get a stream of characters, how to form a number from that. Okay. So in this process, if our result gets greater than maximum integer value, right, we'll simply return the maximum integer value. That's what the explanation says. The converted number will be greater than 2 to the power of 31 minus 1, which is the maximum integer value. Therefore, we print 2 to the power of 31 minus 1, which is this number. Okay. So we need to check if result becomes greater than maximum integer value. Then we need to return maximum integer value, right? So as to avoid integer overflow. Okay. So these are the two important points that we learned from this example. Now at example 4, the number is minus 999999. Okay. Now here the first character is negative, which we have already dealt with example 1, right? And the remaining number is less than integer max. That's what the explanation says here. That the converted number is smaller than minus 2 to the power of 31. So therefore print minus 2 to the power of 31, which is this number. So the same condition here too, that if result gets less than minimum integer value, right? Here we were doing maximum integer value. So maximum integer value. So if it gets less than minimum integer value, then we need to return the minimum integer value. Okay. Now finally at example 5, we have a string space minus 0012 GFG4. Now how to deal with this? The extra space thing will be dealing with example 2. The negative thing will be dealing with our example 1. right? Now for here there are two zeros. Suppose in string we have all zeros, then we simply need to return 0, right? Now how can we handle that? For that we'll create a boolean variable all zeros, okay, and initialize it to true, assuming that we'll be getting all zeros. But at any instant if we get a digit which is not 0, then we'll mark it as false. Now, so this whatever we assume, if it doesn't pass, then we are contradicting, but if it is passed, then we assume the true, okay. For this example, here we got 0, 0. Till here it is true, but as soon as we got 1 right, it becomes false. So what we assumed was contradicted. So this is one more thing. And after that, we are nicely forming digit 1, 2, but we got a character, right? Now how to deal with this g? If you remember, we were finding digit by doing s of I minus 0. And I said, if it is within range, we'll get a number from 1 to 9. But if we are not getting the number 1 to 9 within this range, it is not a valid digit. So in that case only, we can simply return minus 1, 2. And why did we just return minus 1, 2? Because minus is negative, okay. 1, 2 is the digit we formed, okay, because we skipped all the zeros. So here in the explanation, it says nothing is read after negative 12 as a non-digit character. That is, as soon as we find a non-digit character, right, we'll break it from there, irrespective of whatever number we have afterwards. Okay. So this is the fifth observation, that break if no valid digit is found. Okay. So with this, we have found all our observation points. I know it's very clumsy here, but you got the logic, right? Now let's see the code where I have used all these points in a structured way. Okay. So here's the code in C++, although the logic remains same. So the function name is myAtoi and a character array is given here. Okay. So firstly, I have taken the string length. If you get a character array in C++, you get the length of character array by string length. Okay. After that, I have taken I pointer and initialized to 0. Now in this point, I am writing the logic of skipping spaces. Okay. That is, till we find a empty space in the s of I character, we are incrementing the I. And we are also checking whether I goes out of bound. That is, if we get all the spaces only and no number or nothing, so we can reach out of bound, right? So while out of bound and our s of I at the character is space, we are incrementing I pointer. And after executing this loop, it will only execute if I is less than n or we have exhausted our empty spaces. So for the first condition, if I is at the end point, so we'll return 0 because we have been given with all the spaces. Okay. But here we are checking whether the number is negative or not. So for that, I'm checking at the first index. Now did you get why did I say first index? Because the I may have been updated when entering in this loop. Okay. So at the first index, if we have minus, then so I am updating is negative to be true and incrementing the I pointer. This is because we should not be starting from the minus symbol, right? We should be starting from the numbers after the minus symbol. Okay. After we execute this if condition, I have created a boolean variable all zeros and marked it as true. And I have created a variable result of type long because we also need to check about the overflow conditions. If we take simply integer, then it might overflow. Okay. So here I'm running a loop while I is less than n. So this I is updated either here or here. Okay. So when I is less than n, we are taking a digit and we are checking whether the digit is valid or not. That I said, right? It should be lying within the range 0 to 9. But if it is not lying within this range, then we are breaking the loop. Okay. And after breaking the loop, how much value we have formed. For that, we are checking whether the number is negative. If yes, then we are returning minus result or normal result. But if it is a valid digit, then we are updating our result that we have seen. Now, after updating the result, I am keeping a check here whether the number is negative. If yes, if the result updated the negative of result, whether it is less than int min, that is the minimum integer number. If yes, we are returning the int min, that is the minimum integer value. But if it is not the case, and if the result is greater than int max, which is the maximum integer value, then we are returning int max. Now these conditions are to check whether the number is overflowing or not, because at every instant we are updating our result, right? So as a number is updated and we are getting each digit appended to the result, we are checking this condition. Okay. And if we are not getting into this conditional statements, we will simply increment our I pointer so that we can get our next digit. Okay. So after executing the whole loop, whatever result we have, again, we are simply returning it by checking if it is negative, minus result, but if it is positive, only result. So here with all 5 examples that we have written, I have just written it in a structured way. Okay. So the code is very basic, right? Since we have gone through each and every example. So what is the time complexity for this approach? Here we are running a while loop. Here if condition. Here a while loop. Right. So the overall time complexity will be O of n, where n is size of string. And what will be the space complexity? Here we have not used any extra data structure, right? We are just playing with variables, right? So the space will be O of 1. One more thing I observed, guys, the variable that we created for all zeros, we have never used it, because if we are getting all zeros also, right, here 0 into 10 will always be 0 and the result updated will always be 0, right? So I don't think this will be useful, but at the dry run I thought it made sense, so I explained it. So this was the video, guys. I really had fun explaining all the examples and going through each observation, right? So if you guys like this video, please like, share and subscribe. And if you have any doubt, please comment it down. I'll try to respond to it as quickly as possible. And if you have any feedback for my teaching, please comment it down too, so that I can improve on that. So see you guys tomorrow solving any other code problem. Till then, stay safe, stay happy and peace.